Well, we have finally arrived to the final episode, final part of Epic History's World War One series. I've really enjoyed this series. I really love learning about this war, like I mentioned before, and I'm really looking forward to just seeing, like, the grand finale. So, yeah, basically, we're gonna see everything just start to implode, right? Russia, last time we left off, Russia's out, but America's in, so it's gonna be really cool just to see. Like I said, I don't really watch much content relating to America on this channel, even though I'm an American. So it's a little bit weird always seeing my own country now, like in a video. Like it's kind of a bit weird to me, but it's gonna be really cool. It'll be unique and different. So I don't really have much else to add other than we should probably just get right to it. And yeah, without any further ado, let's do it. Let's watch World War One, 1918.
(1918). After 3.5 years of war, the Allies are in crisis. Russia has been rocked by revolution, and its new Bolshevik government has signed an armistice with the Central Powers. Thousands of German troops will be freed up to fight on the Western Front, where the carnage of trench warfare has already claimed more than 1 million lives. But Germany is also desperate. Britain's long naval blockade has led to shortages and social unrest at home, while America's entry into the war brings fresh manpower and vast resources to the Allied cause. Germany faces inevitable defeat, unless it can win a quick victory on the Western Front.
Yeah, it's kind of like that desperate last push, right? Sure, they got rid of Russia, and, for the Allies, this really does look bleak, but there is that kind of silver lining in that America, who has been relatively fresh in terms of like manpower and supplies, by not being involved in the main fighting, is now joining in. So that's like, meanwhile Germany and these Central Powers are starting to like, yeah, they've lost a lot, right, with all the fighting. So this is gonna be like Germany's final push. I'm just telling you, it's kind of funny. I'm sorry I'm laughing. It's just like, it's funny when you think about it, right? Like, I mentioned this last video, but it's just like, this all started because of Serbia and Austria-Hungary, and then they just feel like complete afterthoughts at this point. It's like, you would swear Germany is like basically the main start of everything, right? With how punished they got afterwards and just how heavily they were in the fighting of against the Allies. Like, you would swear like this is Germany's the main character or something, and it, in a funny way, kind of ends up carrying a lot, especially around this area, and obviously in the Western Front. But yeah, overall, it's just kind of like, I don't know. It's just funny, like, when you think how all this started and just all the, carnage that came afterwards. The Kaiser's Battle.
US President Wilson announces his 14 points. They outline his vision for a post-war world, including an end to secret treaties, a reduction in the size of armed forces, self-determination for the people of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and an international organization to settle future disputes.
Yeah, I think, the League of Nations or NATO? Yeah, it was League of Nations. So, yeah, Woodrow Wilson was awfully involved in, obviously wanting to dictate how things were after the war. And, there's a lot to talk about with Woodrow Wilson. Like, not all of it great. Like, boy, I wonder, like, how I can say this without stirring up too much controversy. Okay, I'm gonna Oh wait, wrong video. I just jumped to the third part of the history of Russia video, which I'm gonna record after this. But, okay, yeah, so I'm just not gonna say what I was gonna say. I'm not sure where Woodrow Wilson stands in the grand scheme of things, how people feel about him. Let's just say he's not my favorite president. I'll leave it at that. There are some things I don't really like about the guy. And I could be completely alone on this. I've seen some videos that just denounce Woodrow Wilson, but again, I don't know the big popular, viewpoint about him in terms of the majority. So I'm just gonna stop before, I create a storm and people are like, what? You don't like Woodrow Wilson? And just, it becomes a huge thing in the comments. I want to avoid all that. But I do at least kind of respect, while I don't agree with everything he did in terms of foreign policy, I do kind of have a weird respect for what he was trying to accomplish with the League of Nations, and what he was trying to accomplish after the war. And not everything he did was a success, nor did it created some issues, obviously, down the road, to put it nicely. I'm trying to tiptoe so hard, guys, around this. You can tell I'm struggling, right? I'm just gonna leave it at that. Let's just keep watching the video.
But most European leaders dismiss his ideas as wishful thinking. At Brest-Litovsk, Bolshevik Russia signs a peace treaty with the Central Powers. Russia gives up vast amounts of territory in exchange for peace.
Yeah, that's insane. Look at all that, but like, that was kind of the thing, though. Russia was going through a lot of eternal, like issues, obviously the revolution. They have their own civil war, which is very, a very bloody affair, obviously. Like, we touched on it a little bit on the oversimplified, video about the Russian Revolution, and we will be getting to it. I think I saw that Epic History covers some of the Russian Revolution, though. I wonder if it's a different one. Wait. Okay, I just checked. There is something about the 1917 revolution. It's only 13 minutes long. Like I said, I'm trying to get through Epic History's Russia's, videos, but for Saturdays, but either way, yeah, there's just so much going on in Russia at this point. And that's kind of the thing, right? They really needed this peace, and this was like a very harsh peace, because the Germans basically were getting their way. So yeah.
500,000 German troops can now be redeployed from the east to the Western Front, where German General Erich Ludendorff plans an all-out, last-ditch offensive to win the war. Ludendorff's spring offensive catches the Allies off guard. German stormtroopers, using new infiltration tactics, help to overwhelm the British Fifth Army, which is soon in full retreat.
It's the element of surprise, really, right? It's like, obviously, Germany needs this to move quickly, right? Especially with, how the things are going, the war of attrition. And yeah, they definitely had a success over Russia, but obviously, America joining, that creates another series of issues that they need to deal with. And the whole plan was to take out the Western Front. That was the whole thing, the Schleifen plan. They didn't want a two-front war. Granted, now Russia's out, but the whole point is that they wanted to take out France really quickly, and, it's just stalemated into this. So this push, obviously there's the element of surprise, a spring offensive, and these new tactics that he's just brought up, and look at that, just the lines moving, but I'm wondering just for how long, right?
The German advance threatens to split the British and French armies, with disastrous consequences. So French General Ferdinand Foch is appointed Supreme Commander of Allied forces to coordinate strategy. Outside Amiens, British and Australian troops improvise a defence and finally halt the German advance. The German offensive switches to the north, targeting the Channel ports. But the British inflict heavy losses on the Germans and prevent a breakthrough. Above the trenches, the First Air War continues to escalate. Each side now has more than 3,000 aircraft in service on the Western Front. But by 1918, the Allies have won air superiority, thanks to greater resources. On the 21st of April, Germany's most famous pilot, Manfred von Richthofen, the Red Baron, is shot down and killed near Amiens. With 80 victories, he's the war's highest-scoring ace, and is buried by the Allies with full military honors.
Man, that's really cool. You know, these little, these moments in which you see some of the valor of certain individuals is always nice, you know? And yeah, like, what, over 80, like, victories? Dang, the dude was a beast, you know? But, like I said, air warfare is something that we haven't covered on this channel, and since I don't plan on going anywhere past World War I, probably never will cover on this channel, but it is, like, as someone who's afraid of heights, someone who hates being near edges, or even rails of edges, and just, like I said, I'm afraid of heights. I do have a greater respect towards, I mean, I have respect for all soldiers, but, like, a part of me, like, really has this huge, like, reverence towards those who fight in the air, because I'm like, that, to me, that's frightening. Like, flying is frightening, and, you know, there's nothing but respect for that. Also, the Red Baron's just kind of a cool nickname, you know? But man, like, really cool.
Britain's new independent bombing force launches a daylight raid against Cologne. It marks the beginning of Britain's own strategic bombing campaign. On the ground, Ludendorff's offensive switches south, targeting the French. German troops advance 30 miles, but are halted at the River Marne, just as fresh American divisions enter the line. The US 1st Division is the first to see combat at the Battle of Cantigny. 3 days later, the US 2nd Division wins victory at the Battle of Belleau Wood. By now, there are nearly 1 million American soldiers in France, with 10,000 more arriving every day. The fourth phase of the German offensive leads to a 9-mile advance, but is finally halted by a French counterattack. In Italy, Austria-Hungary launches an attack at Asiago and the Piave River to support Ludendorff's offensive in France. But it's repulsed with heavy losses, and morale amongst the Austro-Hungarian army collapses. British and French troops land at Murmansk in northern Russia. It's the beginning of Allied intervention in Russia's civil war, on the side of so-called white or anti-Bolshevik forces.
The white and red armies, I think.
On the Western Front, the Germans' final attack is defeated in the Second Battle of the Marne. Ludendorff's offensive has cost the Germans more than 600,000 casualties and has failed to make a decisive breakthrough. Germany's final gamble has failed.
Yeah, it did look like they were making some progress, obviously, but yeah, this was just like one giant, like, push, right? Like, we need the victory, and it just didn't work out. And, like, also, you know, didn't help, obviously, that the enemy were getting more reinforcements, and obviously the air power falling to the Allies, just like, it all kind of just fell apart, you know?
The Allies now go on the attack. At the Battle of Amiens, British, Australian, Canadian and French troops, supported by tanks and aircraft, advanced 7 miles in a single day. General Ludendorff calls the 8th of August the Black Day of the German army. German troops are exhausted, hungry and demoralized, and begin to surrender in their thousands. The Battle of Amiens begins the Allies' 100 Days Offensive. Trench warfare is over. The Germans are in full retreat. In the Balkans, a new Allied offensive at Dobropolje breaks through Bulgarian positions. The overstretched Bulgarian army collapses, and 2 weeks later, Bulgaria signs an armistice. In the Middle East, British-led forces defeat the Turks at the Battle of Megiddo, taking 25,000 prisoners. Allied troops soon occupy Damascus and Aleppo. On the Western Front, Marshal Foch orders a general attack. British, French and American armies reach the Hindenburg Line, a line of reinforced German defences, and break through.
Just the complete, right? You just see the complete collapse of the Central Powers. And it's like, man. Dude, if I had a nickel for every time everyone had to team up to take down Germany, I'd have like 2 nickels. Which isn't much, but it's funny that it's happened twice. Huh. Well, hopefully 3 when World War III... No, I'm joking. I hope not, but, you know... But it's kind of tradition. If a Third World War happens, Germany needs to be the one everyone teams up against. I'm joking, by the way. I don't want a Third World War. I hope that a Third World War doesn't happen. But, especially with our, like... God, I'm just thinking of, like, the destruction and carnage that would happen if we had, like, a World War right now. God forbid, like, the nukes just start shooting and everyone just destroys the planet, right? So far, I mean, we've come close, obviously, to almost complete destruction, you know, like with the Cold War, but thankfully, we haven't, you know.
Ludendorff informs the Kaiser that the military situation is hopeless, and that Germany must seek an armistice. Germany sends a request to US President Woodrow Wilson, who in return demands German withdrawal from all occupied territory and the Kaiser's abdication. On the Italian front,
yeah, Kaiser Wilhelm was just not popular, and yeah, he did famously abdicate, and you know the rest of the story with Germany and what goes on there. But yeah, the man was not popular at all by the end. I don't think anyone, I don't even think the Germans wanted him back. Or again, I don't know the ratio, but obviously he never came back. So the Kaiserdom ended with him. And yeah, the age of kind of like empires and monarchs kind of really did come to a great end after this war, huh? Things were forever different in the face of the world. It's like this, I don't know, I guess I really love just the social and like worldwide ramifications of like government and you know, like, of like, yeah, the governments that came out just from the fallout of this war. It's really fascinating, actually.
The Allies deliver the final blow to Austria-Hungary at the Battle of Vittorio Veneto. The Austro-Hungarian army disintegrates, and 300,000 prisoners are taken. With the Central Powers facing collapse, the Ottoman Empire signs an armistice with the Allies at Mudros. 4 days later, Austria-Hungary signs an armistice with the Allies at Villa Giusti. At Kiel, the German High Seas Fleet is ordered to make a suicidal attack on the British Navy, but instead it mutinies. Revolution spreads through Germany. The Kaiser abdicates, and a German Republic is proclaimed. On the 11th of November 1918, a German delegation signs an armistice with the Allies inside Marshal Foch's railway carriage at Compiègne. It comes into force at 11 AM, but fighting continues until the last moment. American Private Henry Gunter is killed, charging a German machine gun at 10:59. He is thought to be the last soldier killed during World War I. 3 days later, in East Africa, German General von Lettow-Vorbeck surrenders his army on the Chambezi River. For 4 years, he has tied down huge numbers of Allied troops, remaining undefeated while cut off from home.
Wow.
He is still considered one of history's greatest guerrilla leaders.
That is beyond impressive. I did not know that. Like I said, we're mainly focusing on mainland Europe, though it's interesting to see, you know, what's going on in other parts of the world. That's beyond impressive. Like, that's cool. Yeah, that's kind of it, huh? Yeah, I do think that, yeah, Germany got really, I've said neutered, I think it's the word I used, but yeah, like, there was a lot of things, and again, I'm speaking through a 21st century perspective. Obviously, hindsight is 2020, but, you know, obviously, yeah, the way Germany got really treated wasn't good at all, and it led to a lot of the carnage and chaos that came afterwards. You know, Germany got really punished. Like I said, you would have sworn they started everything. Granted, they did do a lot, obviously, in terms of the fighting and, you know, the infamous, you know, the crimes in Belgium, obviously, but yeah, it's just like, I think a lot of the punishment that was placed on Germany really gave way into what came afterwards, you know? And yeah, again, hindsight's 2020. They didn't know at the time, but it's like, maybe, yeah, it wasn't the best, obviously.
The Paris Peace Conference opens at the Palace of Versailles, just outside the French capital. Delegates accept a proposal to create a League of Nations to settle future international disputes. The Versailles Treaty, signed in June, imposes harsh terms on Germany. Its military is restricted in size. It must pay war reparations to the Allies. It loses territory to its neighbours. And its colonies are seized by the victors. Germany must also accept responsibility for the war in a war guilt clause, a source of lasting resentment in Germany.
Yeah, obviously, right? Okay, let me read this really quick. Germany accepts responsibility for causing all damage and destruction to which the Allied and associated governments have been subjected as consequence of the war imposed upon them by the aggression of Germany and her allies. like I said, I just keep laughing because like this started because Austria and Serbia got into obviously a beef through the assassination of Franz Ferdinand, but like there's just a funny point where Germany becomes just the main. Like I said, they carried their central alliance, and it's like you would have sworn it was all Germany who did everything. Like it almost comes across like that, you know, that they started it. But no, they just happened to go to the side of Austria. Obviously, they did a lot more. Well, they did a lot that we talk about and know about from World War One. So, but yeah, like I said, it wasn't, I don't think it was good, the amount of punishment that Germany got, you know? Obviously, it created this resentment, and these conditions were insane, and it didn't last long. It gave way to, you know, as we know, Hitler and all the awful things he did, so...
The boundaries of Europe are redrawn. Poland re-emerges after 100 years of foreign rule.
Heck yeah, Poland's back, at last! Like I said, I've joked that Poland might be one of the most screwed countries, like, of all time, because, like, mainly when we covered starting for the Napoleonic Wars, they're already, like, been destroyed, essentially, as a nation, and basically separated between the Austrian Empire, Prussia, and Russia, and that they were hoping a lot, right, to re-emerge through Napoleon. They didn't. Ended up becoming more under the thumb of Russia, and basically, or like that all the way until now. And then, like, come World War II, they get jumped again. Like, man, I almost feel bad for Poland, you know? I'm like, whoa, what the heck? So it seems like everyone just hates Poland, like, I don't know. But it's nice you're back, Poland. It's been a while, and we're covering the Russian series by Epic History, so we're seeing, you know, Poland and their early beef with Russia, so... Yeah, overall, Poland has been through quite a bit, haven't they, guys? Like, this nation has been through quite a bit. At least you're back now. It took a long time, but at least you're back.
While Austria, Hungary, Czechoslovakia, Yugoslavia, and an enlarged Romania emerged from the ashes of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. The Ottoman Empire is dismantled. New states, most under European control, are created in the Middle East. Here, as in Europe, the seeds of future conflict are sown.
Okay.
While in the Far East, former German possessions in China are handed to Japan, to China's outrage. World War I claimed the lives of 9.5 million soldiers. 1 in 8 of those who fought. 21 million more were wounded. 7 million civilians also lost their lives. Huge areas of Europe were left devastated. Old empires vanished. New states were born.
Like I said, man, it's just like so much happened, right? Like the advancement of technology from like earlier into what happened with this war, the advancement of technology, the end of the empire, kind of more imperialism age, the rise of, you know, other ideas that came from this, like, you know, it's just like so much happened in this one war that really just changed everything, you know? It's just so much. This is why I really love this war. You know, like I love learning about this war, and it's the world war I find more interesting between the two that we've had. You know, like I said, I like learning more about this one than the second, and it's just like just the fallout, right?
Lives across the world were transformed. The world was never the same again.
want to look at a map of modern Europe. So this comes from a site called the Library of Congress, a map of Europe. Again, I am not entirely sure how accurate this map is, but I just kind of want to look. Like, I have looked at this particular map a few times. I just find it really interesting. Like, you know, look, there's Poland, Ukraine. Like, I don't know why, just after what we've covered from all the maps of Europe from, like, the Napoleonic era onward, it's just so interesting to just see, like, how things have developed. Like back then, Austria-Hungary, which was before just one thing, like, how much influence it had, and now look, like, much smaller, right? Obviously, and separated, two distinct things. Romania, Ukraine. Some of these nations I don't even recognize, you know? Like, I just think there's just something so interesting about the constant shifting of the map of Europe, and just, like, how before, you know, certain nations were once so powerful and large, and basically, you know, and then, like, just obviously as the passage of time goes, not every empire is gonna remain on top. Like, you know, if you look at the maps of, like, Rome and whatnot, and now, I don't know, I just find this so interesting. I kind of want to go to Greece. Like, I'm really interested in Greek culture at the moment. Yo, the rest of this video is just me looking. And just like, you know, kind of like, I want to go and visit places, you know. And for those of you who don't know, I do have, like, relatives in Germany. Like, my grandfather's sister moved to Germany, and that started the German wing of our family. So I do have relatives in Germany. My family has a German wing, which is always interesting to talk about. But if I had to go to anywhere, I really want to go to some of these places. I don't even like travel, guys, but I do want to go to Europe. You know, I want to obviously visit Rome. I want to go to France, see the tombs of Napoleon, and visit Davos, because Davos is my favorite marshal. Go to Greece. I just want to see Greece. Like, I'm just so interested in Greek culture. And, yeah. Again, I'm sorry, I'm just, like, admiring this. I don't even know how accurate this map is, but, to current day things. But, either way, this was a great series. I really enjoyed it. I loved learning about it. I loved learning some more things about World War I that previously I did not know about. You know, some of the acts of heroism, and, yeah, overall, just another great series by Epic History. And, I've decided that for the next series, for the next few Sundays, we're going to be covering something new. We're going to be covering the exploits of Michael the Brave. Wait. Yeah, I think it's Michael or Mikhail. I don't know, but point is, we're going to be covering his exploits by the Great History March, so stay tuned for that. That's going to be the next series following this one. And yeah, guys, I don't have much else to say other than I guess I'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.